the Kia Sorento has seriously changed. Cast your mind back to the first generation at the turn of the millennium, where it was quite sleek, if a bit forgettable looking, but underneath it was really rugged. It was a proper workhorse. You'd call it a 4x4. Now, it's a new fourth generation, just arriving in Ireland. And well, it's a luxury SUV. It's a family luxury SUV, nothing more. And actually that's emphasised by the fact that these first models that come in are front-wheel drive only. So it's a 2.2 litre diesel engine under there. It's got just over 200 horsepower, 440 newton meters of torque. Front-wheel drive, as I said, automatic only. Bit of a surprising mix there, perhaps. It'll make more sense in early 2021 when the plug-in hybrid model comes along. That will be all-wheel drive. That will have a decent electric-only range and its emissions will be much lower. And we think with the budget 2021 changes, it'll be much cheaper than this little Model 2. Now, the chunky appearance of the new Sorento might make you think that it's much bigger than the old car, but it's not much actually. It's about the same length, a little bit wider, a little bit taller, and actually it's a new platform, so there's a bit more distance in the wheelbase, which means longer doors and a bit more space up front. That's all good, right? A few other little design details we're pointing out. This little shark's fin detail in the window is quite attractive. I'm not so sure about the grille on the front window. It's pointless, it serves no function, but I don't know, each to their own, I suppose. But overall, you know, it's quite a handsome looking SUV, I think. And of course, an SUV like this is all about the interior. In fact, it's more about the interior in this car. It's absolutely huge. Now, it's only sold in 7 seats, as I mentioned, so there's 3 rows. The front 2 rows, it's a pure luxury car. This second row, 3 adults can sit across the back, no problem at all. And they have loads of space. Up, down, all around, feet, legs, everything. The seats slide, they tilt, they fold flat as well, which I'll show you in a minute. Up front, it's very, very impressive, this Sorento. It takes a big step forward from the previous one. It compares very well to all the premium cars now. You've got this lovely trim material actually, and it's all tactile and very, very high quality. Got this unusual gear selector down here. I'm not 100% gone on that. It's a rotary design where you twist the rotary to select drive or neutral or reverse, and then you press the button for park. I'm not 100% sure about it, but it does take up very little space and it looks nice, of course. This dashboard is far more successful, I think. It's a nice big long piece of black piano here, piano black. The touchscreen's in here, it's a widescreen touchscreen. It's all very quick and easy to use. The instruments themselves are digital, and depending on the driving mode you choose, it changes appearance. It works very well and it looks good. A particularly neat feature actually is the blind spot assist, or whatever Kia calls it, where when you indicate your blind spot, a camera in your blind spot shows up within the dashboard. So it shows you what you might be missing if you don't glance in your blind spot yourself. It takes a bit of getting used to rely on that rather than, you know, years of looking over your shoulder as you should do. But it's an extra little safety feature and it works very well. It's particularly useful in town actually for spotting cyclists as well. So that's quite nifty. On top of that, as I mentioned, the quality is very high. The steering wheel is a bit big for my liking, but I guess it goes with the territory. It means you have plenty of space to look through it. It all feels very good. These double deck air vents are really tasteful actually as well. They look good. There's a lot of storage here. So you have big armrests here, but underneath is quite a big storage bin. You know, more space there, 2 big cup holders, a big space in front here, and actually under here is where you put your phone. There's wireless charging, there are USB ports. It's a very, very useful car. It's probably worth pointing out these heated seat switches actually. They just move so well. It's a tactile, well damped feel to it, and that kind of defines the interior of the Sorento. And as I mentioned, the rear is hugely spacious. Before I get in, it's worth pointing out how wide this door opens. It's a long wheelbase on this car, and that is brilliant. It makes it easy for adults to get in, whether they're mobility reduced, or probably more importantly, easier to get kids into their car seats. It's a crucial aspect of a family car. Now, you step up a little bit, but not too much. It means you get good visibility. Before I talk about the rest of the car, I love these cup holders. They're really upright, they're right there. It means even if there are people across here and you can't use the cup holders built in here, you have one there, right to hand. This car also has sun blinds, which are very useful. It means you don't have to buy those cheap, tacky, stick-on ones that most people buy. This has air vents in the back, which is always good to have. You've got a USB port down there and a 12-volt power socket. But more importantly, or more impressively rather, are these USB ports. They're built into the seats, the sides of the seats here. Really easy to access from the back. It means you can put your device in here perhaps, plug in there and charge up. That's the way it's going, isn't it? Now, in terms of space, as you can see, I've got loads of headroom here. And this has got the panoramic glass roof in this model. This is a top spec car, so that probably reduces things a little bit. This is set to my driving position, and I've got stretching room here. Absolutely loads of stretching room. Loads of elbow room. It's comfortable. It's got this lovely two-tone leathers again in this top spec model here. This front seat, the passenger seat, actually can be moved by the driver without going around to the other side electrically. There's some nice switches there. That's in the top spec model, and very useful little feature for adjusting legroom, etc. Speaking of which, these seats slide. So if I want to move forward and make some more boot space or room for the people in the back, I can do that. And even there, that's not uncomfortable. That is very, very comfortable still. They also tilt actually the backrest, so you can adjust your backrest angle depending on what you like. It's quite useful. Some people will like that. On top of that, you'll probably get 3 adults across here. You definitely get 3 adults across here without too much of a problem. You probably get 3 car seats across here, depending on how bulky they are. There are 2 ISOFIX mounting points on the outside ones, which is quite normal. But I reckon you'll probably get a 3rd in the middle, depending on the size again. Now, in terms of sitting there, it's a bit more raised, and there is a little bit of a hump in the ground, but not as bad in most cars. So 3 adults, very doable. In 7-seaters, the rearmost seats, they usually get the raw deal. They're usually designed for kids, you know, teenagers and below who are maybe just out of their boosters or just in their boosters. Not very comfortable adults for very long. And it's the same here, to be honest. There's a lot of room here. Sure, you can move this forward and divide up the room, but the back is not really designed for adults. Now, however, it's a nice easy way to get into it. Just press this button here, electrically reduces, and there we go. Step in. Bit awkward if you're 6 foot especially. Doable though, isn't it? So you're a bit knees up back here, and it really does depend on how much further forward this seat slides in front. But it's not bad. Headroom isn't bad at all, and there are USB ports back here. There's actually air conditioning controls back here, which is quite nice. So let's see how versatile the car is now. This is the car in its 7-seat layout. Obviously, you can see the seats right back there. So, putting down these seats, put down the headrests, pull these tags here, and you have a huge boot. And then, to actually get them to fold right down, so you see you've got a massive load space. Basically, you have a van. And the new Sorento is quite impressive on the road as well. Now, we will say that this is not the model to buy if you're somebody who drives around town all the time, regardless of how big your family is, doing school runs, shopping, etc. The diesel engine, a diesel engine, is just not suited to that life. So if you're one of those drivers, please wait for the plug-in hybrid. That would be far better suited. The diesel is very good on the motorway. It actually gets very close to its official fuel economy. We found in a couple of hours run up the motorway, we averaged about 45 miles per gallon, about 6.3 litres per 100 kilometres. I suppose having just front wheel drive pays off. There's less friction through the driveline, etc. On such a journey, it is very quiet, very refined, superbly comfortable. This car is double glazing actually, which makes a big difference to that. Keeps out road noise, keeps out wind noise, and actually when you're around town it tries its best to keep the noise of the diesel engine at bay as well. So the Sorento does the important stuff well. It's comfortable, it's refined, it's pretty economical on a long run actually in the diesel form, and it's very stable on the motorway. That's noticeably so. Now that stability I mentioned translates into rather good driving manners when the road turns twisty or there's a lot of corners, you know. So the keener driver, it's not for a keener driver this car, but the keener driver will enjoy it and they'll be a bit surprised by it. But more importantly, what it will mean is that the car can deal with corners without unbalancing its passengers, without making its passengers feel unwell or that the car isn't safe or whatever. So it's very good. It's a polished chassis in short. One thing I didn't think was so impressive about the Sorento's driving manners is its gearbox actually. It's an 8-speed automatic gearbox, but it's actually a dual clutch design, so it's not the traditional torque converter. Now, the technicalities of those things don't matter too much to the average buyer and driver, but what it does mean is that this gearbox isn't perhaps as smooth as you might expect. Sometimes, when you're taking off from a junction, especially if you're on an incline, it really feels like you're slipping a clutch, like you're driving it yourself and you're slipping the clutch, and that doesn't go with the rest of the luxury vibe. And at times it's a small bit jerky in its gear changes. Now you won't notice it so much if you're cruising along the motorway, and it's absolutely fine in that case, and it's quite an efficient gearbox of course, but there will be other times, depending on the type of use you give it, that you wish you had the more traditional gearbox. Some will like it, some won't. It has gear change paddles here as well, which I have not used. The engine has loads of torque, loads of power. It's absolutely fine. The gear selector here, perhaps because we're maneuvering it back and forth all the time for doing video and photography, it seems slow to go from reverse to drive, and then, especially if you're doing 3-4 point turns and back again, you kind of seem to wait for a little bit. It doesn't feel as responsive as I'd like, but that's a fairly specific complaint. The lack of all-wheel drive will surprise some, and it won't be an issue most of the year for most people, depending where you live, obviously, in the country. We have found that in wet weather, if you're trying to take off from a junction or in a very tight corner, really slow speed corner, it loses traction quite easily. That's not surprising. It's a big heavy car with all of its power going through the front wheels, so it's a bit of a disadvantage. The traction control is very, very quick. It never feels unsafe or anything. It's just, it's not a car you choose to drive in the snow. There are driving modes, as I mentioned. There's Comfort, Sport, which is just pointless in a big car like this, of course. Eco, which is supposed to make it a bit more economical, to encourage more efficient driving. That's probably worth using a bit. And then there's a Smart mode as well, where the car chooses which of the different settings it thinks it should use. Well, that's our first look at the new Kia Sorento in 2.2 litre guise. As we said, this diesel version suits the kind of person that's up and down the motorway a lot, that isn't in town all the time. Wait for the hybrid if you're one of those people, for sure. It's pretty economical on the motorway. It's very comfortable, as I said. It's very refined. We have a couple of things we don't love about it. The range is quite limited, so the fact there's no 4-wheel drive option, that would put off some buyers and sway them towards rivals like the Santa Fe and the Kodiaq. Only front-wheel drive, bit of a disadvantage for some. Depends on where you live and how you're going to use it. The interior is a high point. Really high quality, spacious, versatile, loads of spec. You can't fault it as a family car. Would you have it over Santa Fe? Would you have it over the Kodiaq? Let us know. In the meantime, if you liked the video, give us a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to the Complete Car YouTube channel, and thanks for watching.